Welcome everyone back to FPL Chat Down Under. I'm Palm and I'm with the lovely Alex. How you doing, mate?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Just another week in the FPL world.
Well, it was a tough week last week. I took a huge knock and got probably my first single-figure score in my history. How did you get on?
I think I scored 50, which actually felt like, you see some of the other scores, but it felt like a pretty decent score compared to some of the other scores I'd seen where there was only, 40s or even 30s. It was a tough week. There was a few selection dramas as well as players blanking. So your typical FPL world, that's why we play it. We get frustrated and we love it at the same time. So we move on. It's a new week. Let's hope for our players to return this week.
Well, yeah, a lot of the top players didn't score. The usual reliable ones weren't in the big scores. And we start this week with a team that are always hard to pick, and that's Manchester United, our team. And they go up against Everton. And who you've picked out at the Man United side?
I have picked out Mason Greenwood this week for Manchester United. I feel like with Rashford potentially coming back very, very soon, obviously Sancho's going to find himself one way or another. This needs to be the moment where Mason Greenwood starts to sort of come into his own just that little bit more. We obviously knew he had a brilliant start to the season. He's dropped off the last 2 or 3 games, and he's finding it really tough to get into those little pockets that we know that he can get into. If there's a week for Mason Greenwood to do it, it can be this week. Everton have shown they're looking a little bit more solid, but not too much more solid in defence this year. And I feel like Mason Greenwood could very much be the player that can break them down and feed the ball into Ronaldo or actually get in the box himself and finish off some chances. And he needs a big week, and I'm sure the young star will step up this week. And I'm tipping him to kick a goal against Everton this week. I'm feeling pretty confident in that. I do like Greenwood. He shows flashes. He shows some brilliance in the way that he plays, and I think he could be good for a goal this week.
I think he was unlucky. I mean, he had so many attempts at goal last week, didn't he? I mean, there was a few times you could argue he was too selfish.
He had 8 shots against Aston Villa. So I think that was the most by any Manchester United player as well. There was a couple of times he could have feeded it off to other teammates, but there was a lot of times where he had some pretty decent shots and just didn't capitalize. So I think if he just fixes that a little bit, I think he'd be good for a goal this week.
But listening to Ollie has said that he has got the command of shoot on sight. So, I mean, I think that's really interesting from Ollie that he said it himself, that it is literally... What's going on here? Ollie has said that it is shoot on sight, which I do think that's interesting for your FPL owners, that basically means that you are going to get what you pay for. You know he's going to be there, and if he has the opportunity... he's got a license to finish. So I agree with you. I think he's due another good game. He's had a quiet week or so, but he gets in them positions, doesn't he? And that's what you're looking for.
Well, Ole loves calling him the best finisher at the club, which is really high praise considering obviously Ronaldo and Bruno and all that are there as well. So he's got big reps, and I think he's due for this week.
No, I agree with you, and let's hope he does for our sakes. And then we've got Everton. Now, Everton, I was thinking about being cute and exciting, but we'll go with big Demarai Gray. 6 points last week. A huge average as well. Just under 6 all year this year. And he is everything that's good about Everton. And watching United, one thing we do struggle with, someone who cuts inside, someone who's got a bit of pace, who charges at the defence, especially on the counter. We do leave ourselves open to that. And Demarai Gray is probably the man that we're going to worry about, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair call. I mean, we saw it against Newcastle with Sam Maximan and even Almiron to an extent. We did see it last week against Aston Villa as well. And even, during the week when in the Champions League with Villarreal, they really did expose Manchester United a little bit out wide. And, as I said it last week when I had Demarai Gray talking about him, he's the most advanced forward for Everton, and that's good if you have someone like him, because in FPL terms there's always chance for returns there. He got his assist last week, but he was just in the thick of it. Every time Everton had the ball, every time Everton went forward, he was at the thick of it. And and was always causing chances and always causing havoc. And he could definitely cause Manchester United havoc this week. So, I like that pick. I do like Demarai Gray as a footballer.
Yeah, and 20% of people own him, which I thought was it's a huge amount as well. So he's really gone up in ownership.
I think
probably
he's
a player.
Yeah, I think he's only blanked in 2 games this season so far. He's had a return in basically every other game, whether that be a goal or an assist. So, no, he's playing really, really well. And definitely, I'm surprised it's only 19.7%, to be honest. I thought he would be in at least, 25, 30%, given how well he's going.
Especially at 5.8 as well. I mean, his average is nearly his price, which is phenomenal, really, if you think. I mean, 5.8, it's bargain bin, isn't it, really? I mean, you're expecting 2s coming from him there, and you'd be quite happy with that. So he's scoring very highly. So, and he's got a good game. He's one of them players, isn't he, as well, against a good side that you expect them to lose. He's probably going to be the guy that's everything good in a losing effort.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the pace, he's got the skill, he's got the flashes. So no, I do like it. I'm still holding Demarai Gray, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I love it. I love it. And then obviously we go to the next fixture, which is Burnley versus Norwich. And who are you picking out for Burnley?
This could be a really interesting game, and I think he had a bit of an injury cloud on him. But if he does get up, I like Matej Vidra. He normally comes off the bench, but he showed last week that when he started, he actually has some really nice parts of his game. He's a big, big man, and we know Burnley love their big men up front with Chris Wood, and he got his assist last week for one of the goals. I think it was the goal to Cornet, which was really, really nice. And against Norwich this week, who have had a pretty big tendency to concede a lot of goals and concede some goals that, they probably shouldn't be happening from whether that be set pieces, crosses, so on and so forth. Vidra could very easily get on the end of one of them and play a big part with Chris Wood if he was to get up and play this week. He's only owned by 0.4% of people. He doesn't have the greatest average in the world, but if you're looking for a 1-week punt, especially against Norwich, who concede a lot of goals, at 5.3, if he can get the start, I like his chances there to have some sort of a return. So just someone to consider for this week if you're looking to take a bit of a punt.
He is the type of player as well Norwich have struggled against this year. They do not seem to like them bigger bodies, those guys who are an aerial threat. And he suits that bill. He's going to cause them a bit of hassle down the back, particularly all them balls that come into him. They do drill them balls into their forwards. So he's the kind of guy, I don't mind it, because 5.3, a lot of people will have that on the bench. Do you know what I mean? Your 4.5s to your 5.5s. It's usually your auxiliary striker, and Burnley haven't got the toughest fixtures coming up as well. So chance there of him snaking a few goals.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different pick. I don't think many would, when they think of Burnley, obviously, you're looking at Chris Wood and maybe even Dwight McNeil to an extent. They're probably the main two that you're thinking for some sort of a threat. But I do like Vidra. When he comes off the bench, he shows a lot of energy for a big guy as well. He plays very similar to Chris Wood, gets his head on a lot of things. So, like I said, if you're looking to take a punt, he could be someone to consider.
No, I love it. And he'll be a guy that we'll be looking out for. And with Norwich, who's going to try and stop him? I've gone with the boy, Billy Gilmour. So, tough one, this, because he didn't play last week, but he is expected back this week. 2.3 all year, 6.8 ownership. Everyone, I think, had him at one stage, and that's really fallen down. But I think with Norwich, everything seems to go through him. That central midfield pairing, they do look a better side when Gilmour's playing. He's an exceptionally talented footballer, and he's a guy that I'd be looking at. 4.5. He's probably in most people's bench if you have got him. I don't think many people have got him starting. But the fixtures coming up for Norwich, these are the games that you're looking for, because Burnley as well, they do get broken down by midfielders, and Billy Gilmour's got the ability to break them down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing with Gilmour has been, it feels like it's been lately of 1 week he plays, 1 week he doesn't, then he plays again, and then he doesn't, which is a bit annoying because I think he's got so much talent, and he should be. I would have thought from a Norwich standpoint, he'd be pretty nailed on, given the talent that he has and how much better they look going forward when he's actually on the pitch. So if he does play this week, that's definitely a differential these days. That could be someone for a nice little return. So no, I do like the Gilmour pick. I've held him. I've had him since game week 1. I've held him all this time. I've considered transferring him out time and time again, but something just keeps luring me to keep him. So hoping that he does start this week, and you never know, he could very easily get a return.
He's an exciting footballer. He's someone that I reckon will be a star of the future. I reckon he'll be an EPL fantasy player for a long, long time as well, once he starts to get his feet. Well, then we go to Chelsea, Brentford. So, Chelsea, Southampton, and Chelsea were a team that were really disappointing last week for a lot of people who owned them. The fantasy scores didn't come in. Who are you picking this week?
I think this is the week where we start to jump on the big Chelsea boys, and I've gone with probably the biggest Chelsea boy of them all, and that's Romelu Lukaku. These fixtures, man, we spoke about it, a few weeks ago. Once it hits game week 7, for the next 5 to 6 weeks, even longer, they turn absolutely amazing. And someone that loves making a living, kicking consistent goals against the more bottom range teams. Obviously, you can do it against the top teams, but against these bottom teams, he really makes them pay. Is Romelu Lukaku. If you don't have Romelu Lukaku, I suggest you get onto him, because I think it could be goals galore for the next 5 weeks in particular. There's a lot of green there in the fixture difficulty rating. We know what Lukaku is all about. It's goals, 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 and he gets them in a number of ways. But he's also a nice little target man. Well, not little, he's a big man, but he's a nice target man up front. And if he's not getting a goal, he'll likely get an assist somewhere as well. So if you don't have Romelu Lukaku, I suggest you get on, because this is the time where he could score some serious points and will be a nice captaincy option for the next 5 weeks.
Absolute top option as well. And he's got a very easy fixture. And we've been talking about it, haven't we? This is the week where it's literally set and forget for anyone in blue. And he's the first name that you're probably thinking of, isn't he? With the Chelsea, these fixtures are begging for goals. Like, I'd be very surprised to see him finish this 5-week patch without 3 double-point games. I think he's going to go into the 10s, and he's itching. I thought last week the 2 points kind of made me excited, because he doesn't quite go quiet for very long, does he? And almost like he's saving himself for this patch coming up.
I think he's got FPL in mind. He's looking to help us all. And no, I'm with you. I think there's plenty of double-digit hauls coming. And given how strong they're likely to be over this next run, I like his chances to go big.
I was very surprised as well. 34.3% have jumped on him as of this morning. I was expecting that to be in its 60s and 70s when I was doing the graphics for this. I was shocked.
I know a lot of people are considering the move of Ronaldo to Lukaku. Helps when you got both, like me, so I'll be keeping both. But no, I got Lukaku with my wild card after game week 3 in preparation for this exact week, and heading forward. So no, I'm surprised it's only 34. I'm 100% sure that will jump up to the near 40s come the end of this week. Come just before the deadline, because this is the week where you want someone like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's in my team as well, and I'm excited about this patch of games, this patch of green for him. Well, Southampton, they've got a tough job. Obviously, they've got to stop the boy. And one of the guys I'm looking at is Livramento. This guy he's becoming a cult hero, isn't he, in FPL? The 4 million defender. Every year, someone throws a 4 million defender in. And sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't. This guy's stuck. And looking at the way Tino plays, you can see why. He overlaps, he's aggressive. He kind of plays, the way Southampton play, he's more like a mid for the defensive price as well. You can see there, just under 12% ownership and just under 3 points a game, which for Southampton defender is kind of high as well, because obviously the clean sheet bonus isn't going to be there very often. But for me, this is the guy that, if you're a Southampton fan or if you're not, he should be in your team.
No, I do like Livramento. Like as you said, he overlaps. He's aggressive. He gets forward. He crosses. He's a winger playing in defense, and that's always handy for us in FPL. because if there's a clean sheet and he gets on the back of well, not on the back, but if he whips in a nice cross to the likes of Che Adams or Adam Armstrong and they get onto it, you're looking at plenty of more points. And as you said, we all love a 4 mil defender. He's obviously up to 4.2 now, obviously with the high ownership and a couple of clean sheets. We saw Southampton against Manchester City. They've got that capability to hold a clean sheet against the big teams. It's just that consistency. And I'm very interested to see how they go this week against Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea are a formidable outfit and have shown that for most of this season. So be interesting to see how he goes. But you're not really picking him for weeks like this. And after this week against Chelsea, Southampton's fixtures, there's a lot of greens in there as well, so that they actually get a nice little fixture run after this Chelsea. So Livramento is definitely someone to consider. He looks pretty nailed on as well, which is handy. So at 4.2, if you're looking for an enabler elsewhere in defence, and with Southampton's fixtures coming up, Livramento could 100% be your guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could be the key for Lukaku, couldn't he, for a lot of people as well, especially with TAA out as well. So, I mean, he's not expected back till after the international break. So that could be 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks. So you never know that Livramento suddenly frees up 3 million in the old bank balance for you if you do want to go out and embrace the Chelsea 3-week stretch. Then we go up north. We go to Leeds United, and Leeds United, they entertain Watford. And who you picked out for big Leeds?
I could always pick the same guys, like Rafinha and even Calvin Phillips and all that to an extent. But the differential I've gone for this week is Rodrigo. And I've gone for Rodrigo because we've just learnt that Bamford, it sounds like Bamford could be out for quite a few weeks with his ankle injury. He said he's not even running on it yet or anything like that. So we don't know how long Patrick Bamford's going to be out. And he's had a bit of a history with injuries, so it could be a while. And Bielsa seems to trust Rodrigo to be leading the line. And I tell you what, he gets into some really damaging positions. He gets up forward. He actually shoots the ball quite a fair bit as well, along with Rafinha. It's only going to be a matter of time before one of them sticks. And Rodrigo's still a talent. I think a lot of people have forgotten just how good this guy actually is, especially when he was in Spain. He's got the talent there. He's got the capability to score a lot of goals. And with him leading the line, obviously with Rafinha there as well, and you've got guys like Harrison and Dan James, bursting with pace. If he can get in the box, he will likely get on the back of one of them, surely. And I think a goal's coming. It's coming. And I can see it potentially this week. I don't know. But I do like Rodrigo, the way that he goes about his football. And I think if he gets one goal, like we spoke about with Jimenez last week, if he gets one goal, the floodgates could open. And we could see a few more goals coming, especially with the way Leeds play. So one to consider as a differential, especially if you're looking for a Leeds player with Bamford out.
No, I agree. And it's happened quite a lot in FPL history, hasn't it? That the star striker goes down, the auxiliary, the guy that's the provider, suddenly becomes the main man. And it's a great opportunity, isn't it, for your Rafinha, your Rodrigo. They need goals. They need someone to step up. We know they've got horrific injuries down the back, so even more important. And Rodrigo, as like you say, he comes with experience. This isn't his first barn dance. He's done this before. So very underrated player. And he's creeping into that bargain territory, isn't he, as well? Coming around that 6 million. If that drops to 6.1 in the next couple of weeks, it could be one of them, do I? Yeah. Because he's too good to stay in a stalemate.
Yeah, exactly. And, we love the cheaper options. If he gets down to 6 million, even if you're not playing him every week, he's a handy option to have. And it's, especially like I said, if he kicks that first goal, it could seriously open up for him. And the way Leeds play, that the goals are coming the way that Leeds play. So for an attacker, it's something you look at.
No, I love it. And I think that's a great pick as well, because everyone's going the obvious ones. It's nice to see a new name out on the sheet. And then talking about new names, I've gone with Watford, and I'm backing my boy in. He killed me last week, Emmanuel Dennis. But again, 3.8 average. That's a real high return for someone that I picked up on 5 million. He's been in my team ever since he got here, and I'm a big fan of Dennis. I think he's a tremendous striker. Last week, I thought he had a better game than a 1-point game. It was one of them things where FPL stats don't tell the story, but he gets in the right positions, and he is the main man at Watford. And he's someone that I'm putting my faith in. And again, a bit like Rodrigo, I just think the goals will come. I think he just needs to get in amongst the goals, and then they'll stay there. But talented striker.
Oh, he's a talented striker, and having someone like Ismaila Sarr alongside him as well, that's getting in the box just as much as him. Something's going to come sooner rather than later, and you just feel it. And Leeds, their defense is very frail. They concede a lot of goals. They've still got a number of injuries in that back line, and they're nowhere near full strength. If this is the week where Watford, and in particular Dennis, could potentially get a big haul, it could very much be this week. So at 5.3, I mean, you're not expecting him to play every week. And even if you are, at 5.3, that's a nice enabler elsewhere. And he's going to be pretty nailed on to start and will always be in and around the goal somehow. So, no, I love that pick. We seem to talk about Dennis every week, but he's one of the top options along with Sarr and will continue to be for the rest of the season.
Nah, I'm hoping, and he is in my team, so a lot will be expected of big Emmanuel. And then we go to Wolves, and they entertain Newcastle. And Wolves, again, they're another team that everyone's talking about because of their fixtures this week and coming up. Who have you picked out for Wolves?
Well, I've gone someone a bit different, and that's Huang. Their loan signing from Leipzig. He actually got the start this past game week over the likes of Trincao and Traore. How long that's going to last, I don't know. But if he keeps getting regular starts like that, he has the capability of goals. He's a powerful man. He's quick. As I said, he's powerful. He's got some skill, and he loves getting in and around the box and feeding it into the likes of Jimenez and so on and so forth, and even getting on the back of him himself. And if he can consistently start, he's only 5.5 in the forward line, and with Wolves' good fixtures for the next few weeks as well. If he seems nailed on for the rest of that, there could potentially be some goals there. And at 5.5, a nice cheap option up forward. Forward always seems to be a position where it's hard to find those cheap options. The Dennises and all that don't come along all that much. But if Huang can get regular starts, mate, 5.5, it's definitely an option.
Well, those who play FIFA 20 will remember him in FIFA 21. He had a special card that was a nightmare in Foot Champs, and he is faster. He's one of the fastest things I've seen. I watch a lot of Bundesliga. He is hella quick, and if he gets on the end of a through ball, there's not many EPL centre-backs that'll keep up with him. If he gets ahead of steam on him, he's a phenomenal finisher as well. No, I love that pick because, like you see there, look, 2% own him. Huge differential, and the way Wolves play, it suits him because they look in behind. So I love that pick, and 5.5, 2% ownership. I think him and Jimenez complement each other as well up top.
Oh, they absolutely do. And I mean, I don't want to put this guy in the same class, but he looks like a very, very poor man's Erling Haaland, just without the ridiculous goals that Haaland can score. But they play very similar. They're both really quick. They're both very powerful athletes. There's similar traits there, and all it will take is for him to get on the back of one, and it's see you later. So no, if he gets regular starts, that's someone I will actually consider bringing in just as a nice option to have there in the forward line as well.
No, I love it. No, I think he's a phenomenal talent, and he'll be someone that I'll personally be looking at Dennis, and if he doesn't quite get off the mark in the next couple of weeks, I've got the money in the bank to upgrade. So, I mean, he's someone that you want to look at because, especially against the top teams, this is the kind of guy who scores goals. They get caught on the overlap, got caught on the counter. He is a counter specialist. So, no, I love that pick. And 2%, them differentials can be the huge difference at times.
Absolutely.
Well, Newcastle United, I'm getting used to Newcastle because this used to be your team. And going through the stats, a big differential here. Ritchie, I'm going with. Matt Ritchie, he provides for Newcastle, interesting side note, the most goal-scoring attempts off passes. and he hasn't quite done it. He's got 1 goal assist. Newcastle's finishing's been wayward, but I think 5 million for a player of Matty Ritchie's calibre is pretty good. He started off a bit poorly, but you've got to remember Newcastle haven't had the best fixtures. Fixtures are getting a bit easy for Newcastle the next 5 or 6 weeks. And he's a guy that, if you want a bit of a differential this week, Wolves seem to do get caught on the overlap quite a bit. And I would be looking at big Matt Ritchie to fulfill that need.
Well, it's interesting because, I've always liked Matt Ritchie. And even when he played at Bournemouth a few years ago, he gets forward. He loves whipping in across, loves taking a long-range shot as well. And, he's playing as a defender in Newcastle. If they can hold some clean sheets, he's got potential for some big returns just because his game hasn't changed. He's doing the exact same thing he was at Bournemouth. Just unfortunately, his teammates just aren't getting on the back of him. But they will start getting on the back of them at some point. And when they do, Matt Ritchie is going to be a nice option at 5.0. If with the fixtures turning pretty decent for Newcastle, it's a nice little differential option. 0.3%. That's crazy. So. Yeah, no, I like it, Dan. I like that as a differential.
We love an under 1%. I thought I'd done something wrong when I saw that, but nah, Matt Ritchie is the Poms pick for this one. Then we go to a more exciting game. Both of these teams got a lot to prove. Brighton versus Arsenal. Who are you picking for the mighty Arsenal, mighty Brighton?
For Brighton, I am picking their forward, their man leading the line, Neil Maupay. Interestingly, he's kicked 4 goals this Premier League season so far, and he has a really, really good conversion rate as well. He's averaging 5.2 for a 6.5 mil forward. That for someone like Brighton, who don't always have the biggest history in attacking threat, he's just unbelievable. It's weird. He's really underrated. He gets on the back of a lot of things. He gets in behind. He doesn't mind throwing in a shot anywhere. If he gets the ball anywhere near the box, he's likely going to take a shot more times than not. He scored his goal last week. He's only owned by 3% of people. Arsenal are starting to look a little bit better down back, but if there's one man that can break them down, it could very much be Neil Maupay. He causes problems for a lot of defenses, surprisingly, even some of the bigger name teams. So, no, I like him. I definitely like him as a differential option, and he's a proven Premier League scorer, and he's shown it time and time again that he can get it done. So, at 6.5, you'd almost back him in for some sort of a return.
Niall, I love this pick. He's a player as well. When you look at the numbers, he's always there, and he always converts, and he's always getting goals. Like you say, 4 goals in 7 games. We're only 7 games in this season. That's a high return as well. Like you're talking, you do that for the rest of the year, you'll be close to the golden boot. And he's got all the facets on. He's quick. He's got great strength. Finishes well.
He finishes really well. And I think what's really handy as well is I think he's on pens as well for Brighton, which is extra handy as well. So if Brighton are ever getting in the box and there's a penalty there, you can almost trust Maupay to be taking it as well. So we love that in an FPL pick, someone that's got good goal scoring ability, but also takes penalties as well. So yeah, no, just someone to keep an eye on, because he's just quietly flowing under the radar. He's actually, I just looked at it just before, he's actually the 5th highest scoring forward in FPL so far for 6.5. That's amazing stuff. So yeah, no, definitely someone to consider.
I always say, if you can find players that are averaging their price or they're around, you're doing pretty well. And like you say, 5.2 for 6.5 million, pretty good. Pretty good. 5 million to average 5, you're doing something right as a forward 7 games in. And their fixtures haven't been the easiest as well. You've got to remember that as well. There is some easier fixtures they can play. So I love that pick. I think he's a great little player as well. He's one of the players that I do enjoy watching.
We'll see how it goes.
And then Arsenal, my boy, Aaron Ramsdale. I've talked about this guy a lot to my Arsenal fans for about 6 months, my Arsenal mates, because I'm a huge fan of this guy from Sheffield United. And he proved it last week, was absolute sensational. Ramsdale, 4.5 million. He's got everything you want in a goalkeeper. He's brilliant on both sides in the dive, commands his area exceptionally well, very good one-on-one as well. And I think with their fixtures as well, it's kind of underrated that their goalkeeper now is 4.5. It's as cheap as you can get. Like, you're looking at Scott Carson, who doesn't play. For 0.5 more, you've got an elite defence in front of him as well. Huge clean sheet potential. And only 2.6% of people have jumped on him. That's gone up 0.5 since last week, which I find mind-boggling because people are going with Raya, and obviously Martinez gets a shout and stuff in that price range. Sanchez, we know. I trust Ramsdale over all of them because Arsenal are a better side.
They're a much better side than the way that they started off the season. And we're starting to see that over the last couple of weeks. And, they've still got some pretty good fixtures coming up for the next month or two. And as you said, we don't really find an Arsenal goalkeeper that's 4.5 mil that plays every week. So there's definite clean sheet ability here, potential here. He makes some really, really good saves as well. So if teams are firing in shots like Brighton have showed a little bit this season, there's always potential there for extra save points as well, which is what we love in a goalkeeper. So clean sheet, save points. It's definitely an amazing pick. So no, big fan of that, Dan. It's definitely someone that I could be looking at to move on from Sanchez when Brighton's fixtures start to turn a little bit for the worse. He could still be a nice option, Ramsdale. So no, big fan of that pick. And another couple of options you can also look at for Arsenal if you are really not looking at a goalkeeper is Smith Rowe and Saka. They looked really, really good against Tottenham on the weekend and potentially options who could also break down Brighton. So just a couple options there, but no, Ramsdale in that defence for clean sheets, unbelievable value.
I can't believe he's 4.5 million. Like when I was checking it out, I was like, that's a crazy price because you look at all the other keepers who are producing 6 an average since he's debuted. You're looking at 6 million. So, I mean, I think all day long, you should do that. All day long. So
absolutely.
Then,
no, I'm on board with it. On board with it.
And then we go to Palace, Leicester. This should be a great game because both of these give it a go. And who have you picked out for Big Palace?
For Palace, I was thinking of going, someone like Edouard or, even like Conor Gallagher. But I think we've forgotten about this guy a little bit. Wilfried Zaha. He's gone down from 7 mil. He's 6.9 mil. He probably hasn't had the greatest of returns that we've been accustomed to seeing from Wilfried Zaha, but he got into the goals again this week. Obviously it was a penalty, but doesn't matter. He's seen the ball go in the back of the net, and sometimes for an attacker, that's all you need to see. Just the ball go through the net, and you just get that little bit of confidence. And Leicester haven't, for some of the talent that they have in that backline, they haven't been the strongest defensive team in the world this season. They're conceding a number of goals you wouldn't expect them to. And if there's someone that can cause them some serious dramas going forward, it's Wilfried Zaha. He's just got the pace. He's got the skill. He doesn't mind whipping in shots left, right, and center if he gets anywhere near the box or in the box. And, as I said, sometimes with some of these attackers, all it takes is seeing one goal go through and a streak can start. Wilfried Zaha has shown he can be a very streaky player. So just someone that could very well get a return this week because he's a very hot and cold player. And once he gets one, he can turn hot pretty quickly. So I'm liking it as a pick.
100% with you as well. And I mean, 5 points a game, just under. Played every game. It's almost 90 minutes a game as well. Zaha is penciled in permanent ink under a Vieira side. So I love that. 6.9. He's always going to be the main man at Palace. And like you say, penalties as well. That is a huge thing as well, particularly towards the middle to end part of the season where we do see more penalties for some unknown reason. I love this pick because 6.9 for a guy that is just as good as your Jotas, who everyone has got in the team, your Torreses and players like that. This guy is, in my opinion, probably better than them on his day. So, and he's probably got an advantage over Diego and Fernan that he is the main man. He is the first man on the team sheet.
Well, for me, he's also a proven FPL asset. you know, we've seen it year after year after year that Zaha is the one from Crystal Palace that gets the returns and has the capability of consistent returns for them. So no, I think it's just someone we've forgotten a little bit about this season. Obviously, with guys like Edouard and Gallagher coming in, who have shown a little bit, but don't forget Zaha. He's still around and he's still a very good footballer. So yeah, one to definitely keep your eye on and consider getting when the fixtures start to turn much better for Crystal Palace.
No, 100% with you. I think it's a great shout, that. And then we've got Leicester City. So I went with the man that loves tormenting the Eagles, and that's Jamie Vardy. A guy that's price is starting to fall a little bit, which is surprising considering he's just under 7 a game, but 11 points last week, 12.8 ownership. Probably the forgotten man with Lukaku, Harry Kane, and Ronaldo in the Premier League. But this guy is their class in FPL terms, isn't he, with their returns? He is the man who scores goals for Leicester.
Oh, it is. And you know, you said he scored 11 points last week. That actually could have been a lot higher if he hadn't kicked an own goal himself. So I feel like I'm saying, I'm sure I speak for many others as well. When is Jamie Vardy going to hit that point when he stops? You know, he's not a young fella anymore. He's kicking on a little bit, but as he's kicking on, he just seems to be getting almost even better. He's just converting at a really high rate. He's always in and around the goals. He's still got that pace to burn. He's still got that finishing ability. And yeah, no, I don't think you can forget Jamie Vardy. Obviously, you know, we like our shiny toys of Lukaku and Ronaldo, but there's another shiny toy who just keeps kicking goals as well. And at 10.4 mil, obviously it's not cheap, but it's not, you know, the most expensive. And if you're looking for a downgrade option from a Ronaldo or a Lukaku, if you're really wanting to go down that path, Jamie Vardy could be a nice little option that will give you another 2 mil in the bank. So no, I do love Jamie Vardy. He's a super talent, and it's goals galore with him. That's for sure.
Oh, he's a supreme player, and he's someone that I think he's hard to have in your team just with the premium talent there, but someone that probably is forgotten about, and 13% of ownership kind of proves that. But just under 7 a game, that is returns that we kind of want from our footballers, isn't it?
I remember those times when Jamie Vardy was the 48% owned and not the 13%. So no, he's still a super player, and I love that pick.
Nah, he always has a soft spot in our heart, does Jamie Vardy, from FPL of old. And then we go to Spurs, and they entertain the team that we don't really want to talk about, Aston Villa. Who have you got for Spurs this week?
I think, look, Tottenham have shown they haven't been as strong defensively this season. They've conceded a number of goals that, you know, you probably wouldn't expect a Tottenham team to concede. We saw that last week against Arsenal. But the one defender that just seems to be popping up left, right, and centre, even if they're not having a clean sheet and getting some sort of return, is Sergio Reguilon. And, you know, he got his assist last week to Son for their goal. Obviously, it was a really disappointing week. They've had a few disappointing weeks in a row, Tottenham, but they're back at home this week. You never know. They could very well get a clean sheet this week against Aston Villa, who are a very good football team. We saw that firsthand against Manchester United. If they are to get a clean sheet, Reguilon's the man that could also bring attacking returns as well. He just bursts forward. He loves getting in attacking spots. He's actually, I feel like he's more a winger than he is a defender, to be honest. He's always up forward more than he actually is down back. And we love that as an FPL asset. He's only 5.2. He's not the most expensive defender in the world as well. And, you know, obviously Tottenham haven't had the greatest fixture run in the world. They've had a few easy ones, but they've had a few difficult ones as well. They will start to turn a little bit better too. And when they do start to turn consistently better, Reguilon could be a nice pick in the back line for clean sheets and attacking potential. So just one to keep an eye on this week. Obviously, we know Aston Villa, they show no fear against anyone. They're going to go at anyone. But I think Tottenham are due a clean sheet at some point, and this could very well be the week. So, no, I think Reguilon's the one to consider in the back line.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, Spurs were, let's be honest, pitiful last week. But Sergio is one of them players that you see that really do excite me. He gets on the overlap. He enjoys it. You see, he's in everything as well. Defensive third and attacking third. And it's interesting as well, him and Emerson Royale, they did really impress me. They were two players that I was really enjoying watching for Spurs against Arsenal. They really do seem to get really far forward, almost play like wingers as opposed to your traditional fullbacks. So I think that's a great shout because he's getting it in, isn't he? He's getting it in the box. And I think it will coincide with Harry Kane when he starts to find the back of the net. That's a worry because we know Son is loving the providing from Sergio. When Kane gets going as well, these numbers could double.
Absolutely. We love an FPL asset, especially a defender that gets forward and whips in crosses and gets in those sort of positions that Reguilon loves to get in. So, like I said, they haven't had the greatest defensive record at the moment, Tottenham, but they're too good to not have it turn for the better. So this could very well be the week that it happens, and Reguilon could be on the back of it.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's a fantastic shout there, Al. And then I hate to do this, but Aston Villa, Emmanuel Martinez, the man who dances. Well, I mean, he's tough to beat. Let's be honest. He gave United a torrid time. He danced when Bruno had that penalty that's still coming down, I believe. But 5 million, and like you can see, 5 points, just over 5 points a game. He is a phenomenal goalkeeper. He's got huge levers. He's tough to beat one-on-one. He commands the area. You saw from the Copa America as well, penalty-wise as well. He can get you the save. He's tough. He's tough. He's intimidating. He's everything you probably want in an aggressive goalkeeper. If you're spending 5 million, I think you definitely want returns. When you're spending 4.5, you probably will cope with the 2-point games every once in a while. But this guy here, as we know from last year, proven fantasy asset. And if anything, I actually think he's got better this year.
He has. He gets a hand on everything, it feels like. And we saw that firsthand on the weekend with Manchester United, whipping in. I think Manchester United had 28 attempts or something like that and didn't even kick a goal. And that's including a penalty as well. So he's an unbelievable goalkeeper. He's really agile for a guy that his size. He's quite quick off the mark too for someone his size as well. So Aston Villa have shown that they're a much stronger defensive team than they get credit for. They've got some nice defenders in front of him as well in Tyrone Mings and Courtney House who kicked the goal against Manchester United. They've obviously got Tuanzebe there as well. And obviously guys like Target and Cash and all that too. So they're actually a very underrated defense. And we saw the best of them against Manchester United, and Martinez was unbelievable in that game. So no, I love that pick. He's always been a solid goalkeeper. He was an absolute gem last year. He'll continue to be a gem even at this sort of price. So I love it.
Yeah, it'd pay me to bring him in, but there it is. And then we go to West Ham Brentford. This should be a really entertaining game. And I think there's a lot of fantasy points on offer here because should be a real open game. We saw Brentford last week. Who have you got for West Ham?
Well, for West Ham, we can normally talk about the guys like, Mikel Antonio and Ben Rama and, Bowen and Kufal and all that. I think the one that's sort of gone a bit under the radar as some sort of a threat this season has been Declan Rice. We know Declan Rice as that real pivot defender. He's mainly just that center defensive mid that's just there for the insurance for the back line. But I think Moyes this season has given him a little bit more freedom to go forward that little bit more and actually get himself into some attacking positions. And I'm seeing him and watching him, and he's getting forward a lot more than I've normally seen. And he's already got 2 assists this season. He just had an assist on the weekend, which resulted in Antonio's goal. And I think at 5 mil, West Ham have shown they're a bit stronger this season, and they have been a threat going forward. And if Declan Rice, as I have seen over the last few weeks, starts getting forward a little bit more, he could be a nice little option and a nice cheap option at 5 mil, where goals could be aplenty for West Ham with guys like Ben Rama and especially Mikel Antonio leading the line. So just one to consider. He's not probably not everyone's preferred option. He's not for everyone. He is owned by 4.6, which is actually quite surprising. I thought that would be a little bit more less. But no, he's definitely got some potential there this season, and I'm seeing it firsthand. So definitely one for people to consider as a differential.
He's definitely as well. You saw in the Europa exactly what you're saying as well. He got real far forward. He really's got a bit of an injection in that engine room, a bit of license to roam. Really evolving as a player from just that typical CDM to more of a playmaking role in that deep lying role. So I like it because you saw in the Europa game as well that he likes to hit a long diagonal as well. Antonio starts getting on the end of them. Forget about it. It could be big points return. And like you say, 5 million. It's for a guy that you know is going to play all the time. And if he does go off, that's going to be a little bit of a return as well, just cash-wise, should you want to burn it. I think it's a great pickup, that.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we see the way that he plays when he plays for England, and he's just sole with Calvin Phillips as just a centre defensive mid and just gets forward. Never. He's never forward. But I am noticing that with West Ham that he's getting forward a hell of a lot more. And if he gets forward a hell of a lot more, he's been touted by Moyes that he's got some really great passing ability and also a pretty decent shot on him as well. So the returns could come, and if he continues this, 5 mil as a midfielder, he doesn't have to play every week. You can have him on the bench. It's a nice option to have.
No, I love that pick. I think it's a great shout, and he's someone that, again, I enjoy watching as well as a footballer himself. So hopefully we get to see him in the red in the years to come. And talking about sides that play red, we've got Brentford, and they were phenomenal at the weekend against Liverpool. Shocked many people. I think ruined probably everyone's multi in the world. But the guy that stand out for me is Janssen. Down the back there, real pausing figure in the final third as well. He's a real aerial threat, but just controls the ball really well. One thing that Brentford have shown me is that they look dangerous from set plays. Quite often as well, I noticed in the free kicks, he heads it down into the feet of his striker as well. So assist potential there as well. And Brentford have shown they are quite hard to break down. I know last week it was 3-3, but against these sides that like West Ham and stuff, they've shown they're very resilient down the back. And a lot of it goes through Big Pontus.
I think the Bees have shown that they belong in the Premier League. They look really, really good. And you know, Pontus is he's surprisingly for a centre-back, he's got a lot of skill on him as well. He controls the back line really, really well. I bet Leeds wish that, you know, they'd still have him on the list after they let him go a couple seasons ago. But no, he's a spectacular player. Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say spectacular, but he's a very, very solid player. He's an aerial threat off set pieces. We love that as a big man. And, you know, Brentford have shown, as you said, they're very resilient against these sort of teams like West Ham, where they do defend very well, and then they beat teams off the counter. So there is definite clean sheet ability here for someone like a Janssen. And, you know, he's only 4.6. He's not the most expensive defender in the world. For someone like that, you know, is strong defensively and can also potentially be an attacking threat off set pieces. You love that sort of pick. So, big fan of Big Pontus. Dan, good pick.
Yeah, I like it. And honestly, Brentford, they are a team that I am starting to highlight in my calendar to make sure I'm up and free to watch, because they are starting to play a really exciting brand of football as well.
I think they're slowly becoming a lot of people's champion. I think they're just slowly getting in the hearts of everyone, and that started with me from the very first game of the Premier League season when they played against Arsenal. I thought they looked really, really good then. Not much has changed since. They've got a lot of talent there for a team that's not, you know, as big as the likes of, you know, a West Ham or, you know, a United and all that. But they're doing what they need to. They belong, and they're showing it, and I like it.
Yeah, no, they're a team that, you want to see a team as well against Liverpool just give it a go, and they didn't give Liverpool any respect. They went for it, and that's what we want in the EPL, and that's what makes the EPL the best league in the world, in my opinion.
Absolutely, no, couldn't agree more.
And then we finish with the big guns. It's always good to finish the week with two of the best sides in the competition, Liverpool City. And who have you picked out for Liverpool?
Well, this game could be either. We spoke about it with Chelsea and City the other week. Could either be a 0-0 or could be an absolute goal fest. I've gone with a bit of a differential here. A lot of people might be looking at me like, why this guy? Curtis Jones had kicked a goal last week against Brentford. This week in the Champions League, I don't remember the exact, but I'm pretty sure he also kicked a goal or at least had an assist as well. So he had some sort of a return as well. He seems, obviously, with Thiago out injured, he seems to be the one that's getting the nailed spot in the Liverpool midfield alongside Jordan Henderson and Fabinho. And Curtis Jones is actually the midfielder that's actually getting forward more. So we saw that with the goal. We saw that with his performance midweek in the Champions League as well against Porto. If he can get a spot against Manchester City and nail that on, he's got potential there. He provides a really nice pass. He's got a great shot on him as well. He's getting into some really threatening positions up forward. And with all that talent that we know from Liverpool, with Salah and Mane, and whether it's Jota or Firmino, they've got weapons there, left, right, and center. And Curtis Jones has shown an ability to find them. And if he can get on the back, if he can provide for them or even provide for himself, he's got talent there. I really like Curtis Jones. He's a very underrated player. I'm surprised he doesn't start a little bit more. Obviously, they've got a lot of talent in that Liverpool team. Curtis Jones isn't. He's only young. He's still working his way and finding his feet in the Premier League. But if he gets a nailed on position this week at 5 million, could be a nice little punt because he gets in really attacking positions, and we like that as a Liverpool midfielder, being that cheap and with all that attacking talent around him. So definitely someone to consider for this week.
He showed it as well last year as well, towards the end of the year when they started to play him. Very skillful on the ball, has a great eye for the pass, has a decent shot on him as well. He's not scared to finish and take the game on. I like that as well, because the one thing you'll get with Liverpool if he starts is he's going to get chances, and he's got probably one of the best finishers in world football with Salah just off to his left or right, whichever wing he comes in from. So that is a great pick, I think, for 5 million. And it looks like he's starting to work his way into the first team reckoning.
It could very well be a long-term pick. I'm not really seeing it as a long-term pick, but just in the short term, whether it's only just this week, if you really want to take a punt on someone, Jones could be your man. I know it's a big game. It's Manchester City. They're a very strong defensive team, but someone's got to break them down, and they will be heavily targeting someone like a Salah or a Mane. So Jones could very well be a man in midfield that could be the difference maker if he starts. So we'll never know, but definitely someone to take a punt on.
No, I rate that pick. I really do rate that pick. Curtis Jones, he's a Liverpool boy as well. So he gets it. And you'd back anyone who's a Liverpudlian at Anfield. Been some big Liverpool-born players who have gone off at Anfield. So it's time to make a name for yourself. I agree with you. I love that pick.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And then another guy who's looking to make a name for himself, my boy, Big Jackie Grealish. He's come under a bit of hype. He's come under a bit of a cosh recently just because of the transfer fee. People saying, is he worth 100 million? I think that's mental. I think he's worth every penny. I'll stand by the claim that I think he's the most talented player in Europe with the ball at his feet. And he's a phenomenal footballer. And I think this is the type of game that Jack Grealish will just remind people why City paid 100 million. Gutted he didn't come to United, but absolute phenomenal talent. 8 million, 4 as well a game, which isn't so bad. 3 last week as well, in a game where no one really stood out in City. So he's always in and about. He does everything. He's in everything. I think this is the game. I would be very shocked to see him not return 8 this weekend.
I think if there's one thing we know about Grealish, he's just going to be on the front foot all game long. He's going to be on the attack. And, when you watch Manchester City, Grealish is actually getting into some really, really great spots. He's getting in the box, but he's also finding himself out wide where there's assist ability, and he can use his pace and his dribbling ability to beam past these defenders. And no, in a game like this, you're going to be, both teams are so strong all over the pitch, whether that's, offensively and defensively. You spoke about it last week with Chelsea and City. There's so much talent there, but someone's going to break them down. Someone's got to break their defense down somehow. Jack Grealish has that capability in absolute spades. I'm surprised he only really has the 1 goal and the 1 assist at the moment, I think it is. The way that he plays and the positions he's getting in, he should probably have a few more returns than he does right now. And it's only going to be a matter of time before they come. It might be this week. It might not be this week. But at 8 million, he seems he's nailed on. He's barely been rotated or been rotated at all. He's just so talented. He's so skilled. The returns are coming with how damaging and how attacking Manchester City is. It was only a matter of time before you were going to talk about your boy again. I knew it was coming, Dan. But this could very well be a good week. He's a big game player. He's a big time player. If there's any time to show what you're worth, do it in such a big game against Liverpool at Anfield. So no, I love that pick, Dan. And once City start getting on a bit of a roll, I think you'll find Jackie Grealish in a lot of people's teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, 18.3 at the minute, which I thought was quite high. I wasn't expecting that, but phenomenal player, and we know I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. And let's see how that translates into this week's teams. So we've got Alex's team here. Talk us through what you're looking at doing this week with this team.
Well, I've taken another 4-point hit. I'm sick of taking hits, but I took a hit this week because my 2 transfers were Luke Shaw out, and because I was a bit worried with the injury, and Christensen coming in. Christensen, interestingly, has played 90 minutes in every game but 1. He seems pretty nailed on in that back line. And with Reece James out at the moment, I'd almost back Christensen to be an almost certain starter. He seems to be a bit of a favourite with Tuchel. And at 5 million, we're looking for cheap avenues into Chelsea's defence. Definitely someone there to look at. So I've made that transfer. And I've also transferred out Adama Traore, my boy. Unfortunately, he got benched last week, and that was sort of my tipping point that I just got over it. And I've bought in Bukayo Saka from Arsenal. He looked tremendous against Tottenham, and the fixtures that Arsenal have coming up and how good they are. There's a lot of greens there and a lot of potential for Saka to return. He's probably the most nailed on midfielder in the Arsenal team, I'd say. He's got a lot of attacking ability. And I'm a big fan of him, and I think it's a pretty decent pick to bring him. And apart from that, the team stayed the same. We might do a little bit of chopping and changing here and there if Damari Gray or even a Foster plays. But at the moment, that's what I'm sticking with. And that's my moves for this week.
I love it, Alex. I love it. And what I did with my team was, after last week's debacle, was I brought in the legend that is. I went Kieran Tierney this week. I brought him in because we've got TAA. Obviously, he's out for a while. And I brought in Ramsdale for big Scott Carson, who's just gathering dust. And thought I'd take the chance now, make hay while the sun shines, and bring him in for the clean sheet potential. Few injury worries, though. I'm hoping Mason Mount gets right. We know Tuchel said in the Champions League that he would have played if the game was on Thursday. So we're hoping he plays Saturday. If not, MacArthur, he's just had a price increase. So my faith in him has been rewarded by 100k. But we're hoping that Basuma as well has a chance. And obviously we're hoping Luke Shaw gets up because he was rested this week. But confident with that team going in. I took a huge chance last week, as we know, with the big penalties. So hopefully it'll start to make dividends now. It
was one of those things I said last week for you, Dan. Short-term pain, long-term gain. I think that was, obviously you'd used your wild card already, but sometimes you got to make these big moves, and they hurt the score, but at the same time, if it's one week where it stuffs up, but then the next week you come and score a near 100, well, you've just made up for it. So, no, I do like that team, Dan. It's got some serious talent on there, and if you haven't really taken as much of a hit this week, so if they can get going for you, there's points potential there for you.
Let's hope so. But I mean, the only way to find out is watch the football this weekend. We'll be back next week to see how we got on. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.